Hello everybody and welcome back. And in last week's video, we finished Colossians 3rd chapter 2nd verse, where we saw about how we should set our mind on the things above and not in the earthly and fleshly desires, which we saw last week. And this is where we saw the example for the reason was how Lot had missed the opportunity to show the mindset of godliness and truth towards God and failed to deliver this towards God as he was influenced by the fleshliness and desire which he showed against what was the godliness God had expected, as he went towards the flesh and chose the land of great size in huge amounts, as we can see. And we can see Lot was corrupted in this sense and deceived and did not show the mindset of godliness in this situation. But however, God had approved and blessed Abraham for his godliness in this opportunity of how he treated Lot and gave Lot the opportunity and his kindness towards Lot. And we can see how God is helping and praising Abraham for his kind deeds in Genesis 13th chapter 14th to 18th verse. So let's read that right now. So Genesis 13th chapter 14th to 18th verse, it says, "The Lord said to Abraham, after Lot had separated from him, lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are northward and southward and eastward and westward." Next 15. "For all the land that you see, I will give to you and your offspring forever." So we can see in these first two verses itself, God is saying northward, eastward, southward, and westward, all directions to the point you look towards. That will be the land you have, not just you, but your whole offspring forever, he is saying, in the point, insisting on the point forever. And we can see in each direction, whichever direction and wherever he wants to, whatever limit God is saying, we can see here, he's saying northward, southward, westward, and eastward. And then we can see in the 16th verse, "I will make your offsprings as the dust of earth," so that if one can count the dust of the earth, your offsprings can also be counted. So he's saying, like if we think about it, how many dust particles are in just one room, or we could say, imagine the whole earth. He is saying the amount of dust particles we have to imagine over huge numbers, we could say. And he is saying, if you can count the amount of dust particles in this world or earth, that is the amount of offsprings Abraham will have for his blessed attitude and actions and godliness towards God. And then we can read the 17th, which says, "Arise, walk through the length and the breadth of the land." Now he is saying towards Abraham to walk to wherever you like, and I will give it to you. So Abraham moved his tent, and camels came and settled by the oaks, we can see, over Mamre, which are at Hebron, and there he built the altar to Lord. So we can see how Abraham, at first God was amazed by how Abraham showed his character, but Abraham exceeds the limit of what God would want him to show as godliness, to show his sincerity and loyalty, not to be corrupted by the fleshly desire. Abraham, once he arrives to the land that he has been given, he builds an altar towards the God to stay loyal and always obey and believe his actions, we can see. And we can see that loyalty he has done throughout this situation. We can see how he carried this blessing and faithfulness towards God. But then we can see how the situation changes for Abraham in the 14th chapter of the book, which we can read, which we see actually, where the cities were captured in a war by 4 kings. And in this 14th chapter, and we can see how Abraham, what he does in this situation. And we can also see the 14th chapter is the first time Abraham is mentioned as Hebrew, as in his name. But we can see that the bad news in this capture in the war by the 4 kings was they had captured Abraham's nephew Lot, who was among them. When the news reached Abraham, he armed his men to go and get his nephew, we can see. So we can see that Abraham's land was quite small compared to Lot's land, of course, as in the situation, the amount Lot had chosen. So Abraham's land was not even taken into consideration when the 4 kings had attacked. But we can see Abraham is now as an identified as a Hebrew in this chapter. He goes into battle with just 300 servants that he had among himself against the 4 kings, and recovers Lot and the citizens of Sodom and Gomorrah through the God's grace and his faithfulness and loyalty due to this towards God. So he showed his continuous love towards Lot and saved him and his city at the right time, because he will never associate with ungodliness, because he knows the difference between sin and sin, as we can see. Because Abraham could have easily left Lot in the situation for the problems that he would have caused before, about his unloyalty and his fleshly desires, and how he had problems with Abraham and left. And we saw about how Lot's wife and children had something to do with this. In this situation, we could expect Sarah to say the same thing towards Abraham about how she would expect him to not go. But we can see Abraham's loyalty, and he understands the love that he must show and not commit this sin or sinners, as he knows he will never go against in this ungodliness, and he must show that love to everyone despite the mistakes they have done. And Abraham goes to save his nephew Lot. We can see in this chapter how we can see with just 300 servants, because of this attitude, God gave him the grace in this situation. So we can see how Abraham was very good, a very good soul towards how his actions were towards God, and how he always wanted to stay loyal and love God. And we can see many ways he had done this. We can see how he showed his love towards Lot, and God blessed him for this, his actions, for his godliness towards God and his faith. And we can see how he tries to keep this faith and not be corrupted by Satan, by the fleshly desires. He keeps an altar towards the Lord, to the Lord, in order to stay faithful and always pray towards him, we can see. And then we can see, despite his nephew getting captured in the war against the 4 kings, he does not hesitate to not help him despite the problems Lot had caused him. And with his 300 servants, he goes to save Lot, because he knows that he will never associate with ungodliness, because he knows the difference between sinners and sinners. Sin and sinners. So we can see how it ends out in next week's video. So I'll see you then. Bye.